week 7 in this training, up until now, why RIMAN, mindset, how to be a presenter, how to be a recruiter, how to close the deal, how to build your business with the products. After all of this is done, the most important action you must take is duplicating yourself, doing everything in your power to duplicate yourself. And today I get to train on the power of duplication and what it can do for you, but also I'm going to explain the nitty-gritty and the difference of how this works, on how you transition your business into a duplicating business that can give you more money, more time. And as you know, money is a tool that can help you dictate the quality of your life. All right, so as we jump into the training, here's what I want to start with. What's the point of duplication and why is it so important? Okay, when it comes to team building, here's what I'll say. Success without duplication is merely future failure in disguise. Okay, when I talked about, the mindset or why RIMAN in my previous week 1 and week 2 trainings, I talked about this cash flow quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki talks about, right? And in this cash flow quadrant, I briefly explained in the previous training, why network marketing is for you and why RIMAN can change your life. And I brought up this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? And just to bring you up to context, how this book was made is Rich Dad, Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki is actually a byproduct of our industry. You see, there's a 70-year-old network marketing company called Amway. And about 30 years ago, Robert Kiyosaki found the network marketing industry and saw how leaders were making money. And from a third-party perspective, he got to watch leaders run systems, training, building a sales channel. And he saw average people from all walks of life being able to change literally the trajectory of their financial future. Like he saw this happen with his own eyes. And that's what became the motivator for this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he got some foresight about entrepreneurialism, right? But in this book, he talks about how he recommends network marketing in the 21st century to become wealthy. Because why? It's a program where the average person that will never have a chance to make it can make it just by investing their time and doing the certain right activities. And when he comes up with this cash flow quadrant, he talks about how, active income is based on being an employee or self-employed, trading hours for dollars, right? And he says, you must look at what the big business are doing or what the successful people are doing, what the investors or the financially independent and successful people are doing. You must copy the big business owner. You must do what they are doing. In theory, yeah, we must do what they're doing, but it begs the question, all right, great theory, but how the heck am I supposed to get there, right? I don't have money. I'm not born in a rich family. But this is where you got to read between the lines, because what Robert Kiyosaki is saying is any person that can find a platform that can find leverage, passive, duplication, right? In any even corporate American job, what is the owner of that business doing? He's finding duplication, paying employees to duplicate certain actions to grow his business. It's the same thing, right? So duplication is what gets you here. Once you practice and put into motion duplication in your business, this is how you can emulate what successful entrepreneurs, big business owners are already doing. See, network marketing, RIMAN, is the shortcut into big business, the business owner platform of this quadrant, becoming a passive income owner because of the tool of duplication. Okay, so this is why duplication is so important. Duplication is what gets you to the passive income. All right, so I'm going to explain this a little furthermore. So everyone starts at linear and eventually transitions to leverage. So in our business, there's 2 types of marketing we start with, right? First, there's linear marketing. Every brand new planner starts off with the program of linear marketing. And as you get good at duplicating yourself, your business starts to grow. Maybe you get that runaway leg, or maybe, this business starts to grow like a tree without you. That's when the transition of linear to leverage marketing starts to happen. So let's look at what linear marketing really is, right? Remember, when you first start, everyone starts at linear marketing. Linear marketing allows active income part-time with your own efforts. Remember, active income is you getting compensated based on the actions and the work that you do and the time that you're putting in, okay? Now, leverage marketing allows passive income full-time with the efforts of others, right? So let's take a look at passive income, right? Like Robert Kiyosaki is the master of passive income. Why? Because he owns real estate, right? He understands the concept of money working for you, so, right? So let's look at what really linear activities, what are they in RIMAN? So linear activities are open group, retail, uni-level, and building off of the customer program. So these are all something that we can control, right? But as you master duplication, you start to do things with intention. As I talked about, you become the unconscious competent and you become a team leader and you know how to lead from the front. As you start generating more leadership qualities, you tend to start to duplicate yourself, because what a leader does is lead from the front. The leader what? No, the leader what? Knows the way, shows the way, goes the way, right? So when you do leverage activities, it is only a mere reflection of the correct linear activities that you did. So what does leverage activities mean? It is the leadership matching bonus, leadership override, and the rev share. So, you know, leverage activity is going to be based on what? Your linear marketing activities, right? Something I talked about before, right? In the comp plan training I did at convention, right? Focusing on the now money, right? It's very important. Leverage activities, these are all triggered because of what you do today, okay? So in the beginning, it is absolutely important to focus on the now things that you can control, okay? But let's talk about some of the uncomfortable stuff as well today. The biggest mistake is what? Working with the unwilling. Okay, so a lot of times, many people ask me, hey, Chris, how did you do it? In my business, I have people that become planners, they don't do anything. And then some will go manager, they don't do anything. Some will go senior manager, and some might quit. I'm going to address this, right? But let's talk about managing uncommitted partners. A lot of times, we are wasting time on the whiners. Focusing on the least productive members of your downline is a major mistake. It drains your energy and it distracts you from assisting the supporters, the people that actually deserve your time, or those who are actually working hard and deserve your time. This is absolutely important. As a leader, you're going to, when you talk to directors and senior directors and national directors, a lot of the times you're going to hear your upline leader say, I'm going to be very careful with my time. I'm very selective with my time. And sometimes people take that as an insult. But when you get to a professional level in this business, remember, we only have 24 hours in a day. You come to the conclusion that you have to spend your time wisely to the people that deserve your time. And it's absolutely important not to waste time on the whiners, okay? Feeling responsible for their success. Yes, it's not your job to make your downline successful. While it's your role to mentor, their success is ultimately dependent on their own commitment. And this is why I always talk about time commitment, right? I always emphasize it's great that they buy a pack, but what's more important than buying a pack is getting the time investment, their commitment to the time investment, right? Spending excessive time on unmotivated people robs your productive team members of your leadership and your attention. Again, this is all about time management, right? As you become a team leader and you move on to director, you're going to start feeling this more and more as your time becomes valuable and you are limited in the amount of time you could spend building your business, okay? So why do some go manager, senior manager, and quit? Okay. I like to call this business the business of managing expectations. Okay. First of all, a lot of times why they quit is because you're not setting proper expectations from the beginning. When onboarding a new recruit, it is absolutely a mistake not to define their plan, right? Remember I talked about mindset with Brian Tracy stuff, why RIMAN, how to make your dreams and goals become a reality. And even in that video, Brian Tracy, he reiterates, if you have a brand new business partner that you're trying to get them to do this exercise and they don't do it, what does he say? Don't spend a single minute wasting your time with them, right? This is absolutely true, okay? It is absolutely a huge mistake not to define their plan, okay? In hindsight, this is what I saw. Most people know what they want, but they haven't organized their thoughts or their heart of hearts of what they truly want, how they want to get it, or what it's going to take, or the journey of getting there, right? This is the upline's job to rearrange traffic control, organize their thoughts and define the plan, okay? Remember, set realistic goals. Okay. This is not a get rich quick next week, next Monday. This is not something that you can just motivate, right? Jim Rohn talks about what? When you motivate an idiot, what do you get? A motivated idiot, right? So you remember, you have to set realistic goals, define the plan, manage their expectations. And if you don't, it's easy for their motivation to fizzle out, only leading to disappointment. Pushing too hard. Guys, we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of this. In my early days, man, people would run from me, right? Pushing too hard, overwhelming uncommitted downline members with intense goals and pressure to perform can lead to burnout and cause them to quit entirely. Here's your answer, guys. The answer to why do some people go manager and they quit? Some go senior manager and they quit. Maybe even team leader and they quit. Why? It's because they've been led to a burnout. Okay. Managing expectations is a huge part of this business. That's why it's so important to have the long-term outlook in this business. Only rewarding results and not activity. This is me. I'm guilty of it, guys. Man, I am so guilty of the turn and burn. I was so focused on them signing up, right? Only rewarding results, not activity. When someone is uncommitted, focusing only on the end result, the sale or the recruit, it can be demotivating. Rewarding their positive activities like attending training, making calls, can build their belief and keep them engaged, right? It's not just about the hard close, but remember, getting the yeses in the closing training, what I did, it has to fulfill three things, right? Three elements for them to tell you yes on the spot. And one of them is what? Can I do it? Do I believe in this? Can I do it? Is it an easy, replicatable, doable activity that I can handle, right? It's right here, guys. All right. Now, the negative consequences, I have to address this, right? I will talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay. Stunted business growth, the time and resources you spend trying to convince the unwilling individuals could be invested in prospecting and supporting brand new motivated people who are ready to build the business. Your focus on uncommitted members can hinder your growth overall. Go out there and recruit a brand new person that has a brand new warm market, a brand new list, new blood. Okay. You're going to get stunted business growth with the get rich quick mindset and thinking that all you have to do is badger your existing leaders. It doesn't work that way. Decreased motivation, the constant rejection and lack of follow through from unwilling people can drain your morale and cause you to lose momentum in your own business. This is why it is absolutely important to manage your time correctly, right? Oftentimes we talk about people getting excited and getting motivated, but remember, we have to have intention, follow a system, and do things with the right formula. Damaged reputation, right? A lot of times, this is why we get a bad rap. A lot of times, this is why network marketing is the taboo, right? Damaged reputation by constantly pressuring unwilling friends and family and acquaintances to join. You can develop a negative reputation as someone to be avoided. So what this means is do things with a little bit of finesse, right? In the recruiting training I did, right? You don't want to be over pushy. You want to have posture. You want to have confidence, right? The FOMO is what will make people join. The power of the product is what will make people join. The compelling story is what makes people join. Remember, we don't convince, we don't nag, we don't pressure, we sort. Remember, a person that you thought was going to do it is not going to do it. A person you thought won't do it will do it. Why? Because they were already a yes before you talked to them, or they were already a no. Focus on doing the right things instead of a bunch of things, right? Let's go. Okay. Now, the important part of duplication is always being coachable. The core essence of duplication comes from being coachable. If you're not coachable and you say, oh, let me try this on my own, and once I succeed, my friends are going to come. Absolutely not. You're going to be the first to fail, right? Or what about, I've been successful in my brick and mortar business. I know how to do this. So let me do the thing, right? No, this business is not about life experience. This business is about speed and duplication, fast and duplicatable, right? Remember, I always talk about this business is easy to do fast and hard to do slow. Okay. So what is the coachable mindset to have? You're authentic. You know how to be vulnerable. You know how to be candid and honest. You listen more than you talk. You're eager about learning. You're on all these Friday night trainings. You're on the Zoom. You're on the orientation. You are a hard worker that shows work ethic. You show commitment. This is the growth mindset. So how to, and also how to identify uncoachable people, right? A lot of times they're prideful. They think they know more than you, right? They come with the defense and guarded. They hear, they don't listen. They hear just to respond, right? It seems they're uninterested, they lack effort, and they're only interested if it benefits them at that moment. What is this? This is called a fixed mindset. In this quadrant, ask yourself, what are you? Are you coachable? Are you truly coachable? Because the fact of the matter is there aren't coachable people. And if you're not, that's okay. You're just going to learn the hard way. You're just going to do things, you're just going to take extra steps to get there. But remember, um, there is a saying, right? Um, there's idiots in life and they make the same mistake over and over and over again. Smart people, they make a mistake once and learn from it. And the geniuses, they look at the smart and they look at the idiots and they never make a mistake and they learn from others' mistakes. Who are you? Ask yourself. Be coachable if you want to be the master of duplication. So what coachability actually does for your business is it creates a powerful culture of duplication, right? As in the beginning, when you're first coachable, you're ready to learn. You have this willingness to learn, right? See, when I first got started in the business, I remember my sponsor saying, Chris, you need to be coachable. The core essence of succeeding in this business is coachable because you have to do the monkey see, monkey do business, not what someone tells you. Make sure you watch and learn and apply. Watch and learn and apply. And what happens? You earn and learn, you earn and learn, right? Also, being coachable is part of the duplication process, right? So if you're not coachable, you're likely to fail. If you're coachable, success is highly likely. Why? Because it is a proven method. Coachability is the foundation to rank advancing. There is no need to reinvent the wheel. The purpose is to get as many people presenting the business with the simple formula. So what that is to get massive, 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 massive exposures. Like, just to give you an example, right? How many sales, one-on-ones, and demos do you think are going on in a 24-hour period for a national director's business? Just think about that, right? And as a, kind of as a note, mental note, most national directors are over six-figure income earners monthly, right? So this is why you want to focus on duplication. It's not really about what you think is right or how good you are, but it's all about efficiency in your duplication, okay? Organizational congruency is the key to building a good big team. Congruency, again, right? How can you be congruent if everybody is singing a different song? How are you congruent if everybody is doing their own presentation the way they feel like they're doing? No, it's all about duplication. Congruency is what creates duplication, right? The product training I did last week, what was that about? It was to promote congruency, right? Everybody does the same thing. And there is no shame in the game, right? The buy-in mentality, all-in mentality. Even if you're part-time, spare time, that's okay. But remember, you can't be embarrassed of your future success. You can't be embarrassed what you represent. You can't be embarrassed of what you're promoting, okay? In order to build a successful organization, you must create the buy-in for ABC. Always be coachable. Always. What I mean by this is it's up to the leader, you as the leader, to create a coachable culture because that is the core essence of duplication. Okay. Now, when it comes to the process of duplication, team leaders have every incentive to duplicate themselves in the money-making activities, right? Why is that? Because in our compensation plan, which I'm going to cover next week, it talks about how team leaders make income on unlimited levels up until the next team leader. This is why it is absolutely important by the time you become a team leader to master the process of duplication. The more you duplicate, the faster, the bigger momentum, the higher your sales are going to be. Okay. When I start to launch a new planner in this business, I am very clear in my communication. And I even go as far as to tell them, one day I'm not going to show up. One day I might just put you on the spot and make you do it. Okay. So in the beginning, I always talk about managing expectations. And I tell a brand new planner to borrow my confidence. Watch exactly what I do. And as I do it, make sure you take notes. Okay. So in week one, I'm going to do 90% of the work. You're going to do 10%. The 10% you're going to do is to invite your prospects and put them in front of me. and take notes to the things that resonate with you about the things I say during my presentation. Okay. And I do the open, the present, the close, the demo. I'm doing 90% with intention. In about week 2, now we've gone through maybe about 15, 20% of this prospect's list. Okay. Now, week 2, the new planner, maybe they've gone manager, maybe they've seen me do the presentation just enough. Okay. Around week 2, I informed them that now there's going to be a shift in obligations. 30% they're going to do, and I'm going to do 70%. They're going to invite guests and they're going to do the product demo and open the guest, right? Even if they're good or bad or confident or not, I still make them do it. Why? Because it's absolutely important for the new person to go through that process, go through the exercise, really feel what it is, that emotion that they're going through, right? So in week 2, at this time, a planner is doing about 30% of the work. I'm doing 70%. I'm still doing the heavy lifting, right? I present, I talk about, some of the nanoliposomal technology, the compensation plan, and I make it an effort to close them or promote the next event or sign them up, whatever it is. I finish the close. Now, once we get to week 3, the roles have changed. Now they invite and I do the open, but I get them to do the present and close. So in the inviting part, maybe I'll do the demo, maybe I'll let them speak, maybe I'll do the form, occupation, recreation, and motivation. And then we'll get into the RIMAN revealed opportunity presentation with the close for maybe week 3. Now this guy's a senior, this planner's a senior manager, maybe a manager, but they're getting the gist of it, right? They're not quite there, they're not polished, they're a little bit nervous. They're kind of reading from a script, but guess what? It's still okay. It is a start. You want to launch these brand new planners. Remember, it's all about speed and exposure. The leader with the most presenter is going to make the most money. Okay. Now, when we get to week 4, yeah, I put them on the spot. I make them do the uncomfortable. Okay. I've already managed the expectation. And as far as them doing the open, present, and close, they're going to do 90%, right? Maybe they're senior managers, they've got some momentum. I'm still here. 10% is watch, support, help with rebuttals, maybe help with the sign up. But for the most part, it is absolutely important. Even if it's not perfected, it is absolutely important to launch a brand new planner with this in mind. Duplication is the journey from dependence to independence. Remember, if you could successfully duplicate yourself, then it's on to the new planner as the other prior planner starts to run for rank. Okay. All right. So what is financial freedom and time, and why is duplication so important? Oftentimes I talk about the time investment, right? You don't get rich quick here. You don't get rich by, being a great presenter, or you don't get rich by, talking about RIMAN, right? It's all about your time investment. And in the beginning, when you're a planner, you might do 100% of the work, and guess what? You might get 0% of the results. Why is that? Because you're just starting, right? You're unconscious and incompetent. But guess what? A lot of people quit here, right? How many of you are anticipating January 1st? Okay, January 2nd, the next day after the new year, there's going to be no running machines available for you to go, right? Everyone's going to be on a running machine, right? January 2nd, everybody's on a running machine. Probably by January 10th, the gym's empty again, right? Why is that, right? Because there's people that go to the gym, right? They work out for a week, they work out really hard, and they don't see results. And then they start to justify, well, you know what? Maybe my body's not meant to exercise. Maybe my body's not meant to build muscle. So maybe I'll quit because I tried really hard for a week and I didn't see any results, right? But for those of you on the call here today that have worked out, male or female, whether you went on a diet, whether you wanted to get that 6-pack, whether you wanted to get that cut in your shoulder, male or female, how many of you worked out for a week, you didn't see any results? Of course you didn't. You worked out for a month, you didn't see results. You worked out for 2 months, you didn't see results. You worked out for 90 days, 3 months, you think you didn't see a result, and then you start to see that line in the mirror, right? You start to see your pecs develop. Ladies, you start to see that line on your 6-pack, right? The flabbiness is going away, it's getting firm, right? After like 90 days, right? Then what happens? At that moment, when you see that little change, you become crazy. You become addicted. You can't stop working out. You feel like every hour you're not in the gym, you're either gaining weight or losing muscle, right? You guys know this feeling, right? I've been through it, right? This is the exact same process to becoming a leader and understanding how to build wealth in network marketing. Most will start at the 100% line and quit. Most will quit and say, maybe I'm not meant for sales. Maybe I'm not meant for network marketing. Well, I didn't become rich in 1 week, so this must be a scam. Most do this, right? But for those that prevail, for those that keep going, those that have the Winston Churchill mindset, when you're going through hell, keep going. All of a sudden, that time investment becomes that light of hope at the end of the tunnel. Why? Because at some point you've became a senior manager, you became a team leader. You've done 50% of the effort and now you're making 50% of the income, right? And at some point you've reached your glory, you've reached your milestone. And at some point you do 0% of the work and you're making 100% of the money. This is the work, check, work, check, work, check, work, check, work, check, work, check. RIMAN Village, check, work, check. You guys get what I'm saying? This is the power of duplication. This is the switch from linear income to leverage income. It's the time investment that gets you rich, okay? If you don't understand this, you're never going to be rich. Stay the course. Focus with intention on duplicatable activities. So, in order to be a great duplicator, why you need a DMO, a daily method of operations, okay? I talked about this a little bit briefly earlier. Many times, new planners that get excited, typically from attending an event or a Zoom, get excited and attack their business with all their might for 1 week, for maybe 2 weeks, and they're burnt out. Okay. Then they wear themselves out or just get distracted and stop doing what was working and hope that their team will magically duplicate. This plan will never work because you're not consistent and you're not doing the money-making activities to build the momentum. So let's talk about what a DMO really looks like, okay? So a DMO is daily method of operation. The golden rule is measurable progress in reasonable time, okay? I call out the 888 method, right? You have 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, and 8 hours of your time. There are no excuses. We are all in the same comp plan, same product, same timeline. Once you create a DMO for your direct sales business, you will never, ever have to worry about being successful or not, okay? This is the same as the deep blue ocean, right? The deep blue ocean has two factors, right? It could literally swallow you and kill you, or it can make you rich and it can fulfill you and make you full for the rest of your life if you know the right activities and the right tools to use, right? Same thing. If you learn the mastery of duplication, you'll never ever have to worry about making money, right? DMO is your routine daily in the business. Focus on activity, not just results. Remember, money-making activities, right? When I talked about being a great closer, what do I talk about, right? Great closers get more failures and knows more than most will even try. But what are they doing? Focusing on that activity, mastering the right activity that will automatically yield more yeses, right? This is what I'm talking about. Focus on the right activity. Your time investment, right? People who are interested in your products or opportunity, or existing customers and team planners, right? If you're persistent, obviously you're going to get it. If you're consistent, you will keep that residual income. Okay. Power of mutual edification. Every time I am with Mr. Timothy Herr, Mr. Danny Bay, or Ms. Betty Perez, I am always looking for the next person to edify. The power of mutual edification is a tool. Never let your ego fulfillment get in the way. Okay. So when you edify somebody, it creates open-mindedness, the willingness to listen, and it promotes collaboration. Okay. So I'm going to explain this. If I have a friend that I grew up with, right? Even though I have a certain status here in RIMAN, my friend from 5th grade just knows me as Chris. He doesn't look at me as a national director or what I've done here. Okay. So what does that say? There's a level of trust between us, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean he respects me because he's seen the good, the bad, the ugly, the immature, the mature, all of me as a friend, right? But if I edify somebody like Mr. Tim Herr or Mr. Danny Bay, somebody that actually changed my life, somebody that's helped me, somebody that helped certain results that I've wanted to get and I edify them, what that edification does is it creates the respect and the trust, right? The trust is with me, and both of us aim the respect towards the upline that I edify, right? The core of what gives edification its power is that it's done by someone else on your behalf. It ultimately enhances team dynamics and it propels the team forward. Okay. So ultimately, when the trust is met and the respect is there, the mind starts to open, right? The mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. So mutual edification is to create an open mind. And when the presentation or the information is about to be delivered, it can effectively be delivered. Okay. So the team with the most presenters will make the most money. This is a part of duplication, right? Remember, I talked about how to do a presentation, but these are pretty much the 3 stages of the money-making activities that's going to help you duplicate. This is what you want your team to ultimately, in one way, shape, or form, constantly doing, right? Stage 1 is to open up your prospect, right? It's a discovery phase. You're asking the family, occupation, recreation, motivation. Ask, right? Remember how I talk about when I'm in a one-on-one, about 10, 15 minutes, I will let the prospect talk because 2 things happen, right? They become open-minded and their mind becomes positive, right? Also, start your getting ready for the close. I talked about the closing, right? Always starting the presentation with the close. Look, I'm about to share some cool information with you. Some things you might relate to. You'll know it's about trending things on K-Beauty. But, after I share this information with you, telling me, let me think about it. I got to go home and think about it. It's pretty much a nice way of telling me no. So, if it's not for you, just tell me no or tell me yes instead of, telling me in a nice way that you got to think about it, right? So what do? You are literally removing the obstacle from the jump, from the get-go, right? I talked about this, right? I often implement this. I highly implement this often. Okay. Now, when we get to stage 2, okay, you share the RIMAN opportunity, lead with the product. Now, this is all happening in a sit down. This is all happening in a one-on-one. This is happening maybe at a K pop-up, right? You're presenting the opportunity, leading with the product, right? And you're answering that void for the prospect. Is it real? Can I do it? What's in it for me? The 3 pointers to getting a yes, right? Show them that RIMAN is the solution, an easy, practical way to plug into the system, such as Zoom, live events, impending events such as the RIMAN roadmap conventions or RIMAN retreats. These are all impending events. Okay. Now, stage 3, when you get to the close, have an application ready. Always ask for the close. Overcome the objections. Remember, objections are buying questions. It means they're truly interested. And experience kit purchased, right? You want to aim high, but if somebody gets in as an experience kit, for a fact 24, 48 hours they're going to be calling you, dude. What is this stuff? You already know the ending of the story. Okay. So what this really does, the purpose of duplication is to create massive momentum. You'll hear Mr. Danny Bay talk about this on the team leader call, right? There are 3 phases of momentum, right? Creating momentum, advancing momentum, and sustaining momentum, right? In the early days when Mr. Timothy Her and I got started, what did we do? We were pushing to create momentum, right? Zoom meetings, one-on-ones, nonstop, Tuesday, Thursday, company, K pop-up, social media, promote, bashing my way into the RIMAN HQ. For those of you that personally know me at HQ, I have a nickname. They call me the Korean Kramer because at HQ, I just bum rush in and try to get everything I want, right? I've been doing this probably like the first 4 or 5 months I started in RIMAN. And I started bum rushing in, just demanding everything, trying to, why? Because I'm trying to create momentum. Like urgency is at an all-time high, right? And as I started advancing momentum and start, things start to grow, I disappeared all of a sudden, right? And the RIMAN HQ Irvine employees were like, where's Chris? Where's Kramer, right? But the reason why is because I have this sense of urgency. I'm pushing. It's like you're beating something till like a piñata till the candy's gonna get released, right? So in this phase, it takes a little bit of pressure, right? Like we talk about a burst of energy, right? Like how a plane takes flight. It takes a little bit of speed and momentum in the beginning, right? That's when you're creating momentum, right? You're pushing hard, right? And urgency is the key, right? A sense of urgency is what becomes the driving force in your business, right? You do this 24, 48-hour launch, right? You're trying to do a 24-hour game plan, right? People are processing the story, understand the rewards program, And now people are starting to bring in their warm market list, right? And as you advance momentum, in a day, in 1 to 3 days, you're going to get a new planner, you're getting new recruits, you're doing the follow-ups, you're taking that new planner in the processes of how I talked about, you know, how they do these money-making activities, right? And then in this process of advancing momentum, you want to also promote these impending events, right? You're going from event to event, promoting event to event, right? So within a 1 to 5 day time span, when you're creating momentum, the biggest part of this stage is to create a paradigm shift. Get the new planner to see there is absolutely a different way to make money and become successful, right? Kind of like a paradigm shift. Like once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? Then the belief goes up, then the inspiration starts, then the training becomes like habit, right? Kind of like every Christian on Sunday, they know what? You go to church. Every person that, practices religion, they know what day they need to go do their time of worship. Same thing, right? A top producing planner that understands duplication, they understand they're going to be in the system promoting, right? Doing the money making activities, Tuesday, Thursday, company Zoom, advancing momentum. Now, when you get massive momentum right now, this is like when you're a senior manager, you just hit team leader, and now you're on your director run, and it's just starting to go parabolic, right? Massive momentum everywhere. Your phone is blowing up. You don't have enough time. You're plugging people into these big group events. That's where you get to sustaining momentum. And now you're promoting a bunch of managers in your business. People are going senior manager. Now, within 2 weeks into the business, now it's a validation of the focus group. The belief is there, right? We have the Friday night Zooms. We have the Team 1% events. As you know, Monday through Friday, there's always a money-making activity event on Zoom or at the House of RIMAN or in Mexico City or in South Korea or in Malaysia. There is always sustaining momentum activities available for you. Okay. And as you become a team leader, move on into the business, absolutely leadership development is key. Like these 8-week training courses about learning the system, how to recruit, how to seal the deal, all of that. So these are the 3 phases of creating momentum, advancing momentum, sustaining momentum. Everything is launched with intention. So as I close, I want to reiterate the commitment to duplication, right? I talk about McDonald's a lot. How many of you guys remember this moon guy, right? The moon guy. If you don't know the moon guy, that means you're not old. Okay. That means you're young. I'm in my mid 40s. I remember this moon guy, right? But the reason why I talk about McDonald's is this, okay? Every McDonald's in the world, did you know the Big Mac tastes the same? The quarter pounder with cheese tastes the same? In Korea, they don't have kimchi hamburger, right? In the Philippines, they don't have adobo burger hamburger. They might as a special, but as a main menu, they don't, right? Same thing, right? Every McDonald's you go to, every Big Mac tastes the same, right? It's safe to say we can all make a better hamburger, a better quality, or even a more healthier burger, but that's not the point, right? Success loves speed. The commitment to duplication, look at the first place and second place difference in numbers, okay? It's not necessarily just about quality or certain other aspects, but in order to be successful and create unusual results, the unusual way will create the unusual pay, right? So the important part is to focus on your duplication. All right, so the call to action is this, right? I said this last week. It's the handful of new recruits, guys, that can make or change your career. Every leader's business was once in a slump, but how they overcame it was that they focused on finding a handful of new recruits. Go out there and find a brand new warm market, a fresh new blood that is willing to work, right? How do you identify leaders from the jump? You just met them, right? But you feel like you've known them forever, right? They're not problem makers, they're problem solvers, right? Your goals are similar. Find these people. These are the people you want to spend time with. These are already national directors before they become national directors. Make sure you become a sponsor monster, get into the warm market, work with the new warm market, guys. So with that said, I want to thank you guys. We are officially done with week 7 with the power of duplication. Next week, I am going to be doing an encore training for Comp Plan 101. Comp Plan drives behavior. This training is going to be a little bit long, so I anticipate for you guys to hunker down, but it is absolutely important because it has to do with your money. There's going to be another sector of training that I didn't showcase at the convention because of time limits. But on this training, I'm going to be going over everything, the nuances, right? SP, BP, 50% rank rule. I'm going to go over everything. So this can be a video encyclopedia for you guys to fall back and go back and understand the comp plan. Comp plan drives behavior. If you want to be wealthy, you need to know the math. You need to know how this comp plan works. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for being on today. Your Friday night is your time is absolutely special and valuable, and for you to spend it with me speaks volumes. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for spending your precious time with me. I know how valuable your time is, and I look forward for everybody becoming successful. I'll see you at the top. Let's talk about the money, 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 money next week. All right, guys. See you guys next week. I love you guys. See you at the top. RIMAN #1 out. Thank you.